2 points for Arsenal at home.
Yeah, so here are the match stats after this game. It finished 1-1, and as mentioned, Nicol Arteta is not happy after this match.
The referee makes a decision that changes the course of the game.
The red card is obviously what everyone's talking about. What do you think of it?
I was amazed. Amazed, because how inconsistent decisions can be. In the first half, there are 2 incidents, nothing happens, and then in a no-critical area, the ball hits Declan Hill. He turns around, he doesn't see the play coming, he touches the ball. By law, he can make that call. But by law, then he needs to make the next call, which is red card. So we play 10 against 10. So this is what amazed me. It's at this level, it's honestly amazing.
Have you spoken to Declan?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Yeah, obviously we had a reaction that it was back to goal. It's not in the middle of the park that they're trying to counter or anything. Anyway, I repeat myself. By law, you want to do it. You didn't do it in the first half. Do it. But then you have to play 10 against 10. That's it. Very simple.
Well, here's what Bukayo Saka's had to say after the game. We just want some consistency. João Pedro booted the ball halfway across the pitch in the first half and got nothing for it. Dec got the slightest touch and was sent off. That was Declan Rice's first red card in his Premier League career. Let's welcome in Nedum Anua now to talk more about this. What have you made of this whole situation here, Nedum?
Do you know what? This is a really interesting topic because, yes, we can have the conversation about consistency, but then I think what Declan Rice did is still worthy of a yellow card in itself. I think Arteta felt like he was trying to gaslight me a little bit there, saying it just touched his heel and it went off. Not really. I think you can see that Declan Rice had sensed that Veltman's trying to kick the ball forward, so he's just cheekily nudged it to the side, and by the letter of the law, that will be a yellow card. I think the João Pedro one as well should have been a yellow card, but I think if people want consistency, then also have the conversation about, well, should Declan have been yellow carded then? Is it yellow card offence? I think for a player that hasn't been sent off before in his career, I think to even take the chance at all, whether it's consistent or not, I think that kind of misses the point, because worst case scenario for him, another way that he could have been sent off is if he stood in front of the ball and Veltman kicked it into him. At that point, the referee's probably going to give him a yellow card anyway. So I think he's mismanaged that moment. And yes, the referee could have been more consistent throughout the game. But when you put yourself in a position where the referee can make a decision and it doesn't go your way, I think to only say that someone else should have been booked negates the fact that also your player, in my opinion, should have done better in that moment.
For the cool people in the room, what is gaslighting?
When you turn it around on the other person, basically.
Okay. Is this a new term? Is this something that I should be familiar with?
It might be good that you're not familiar with it. It might be a good thing.
Okay. Okay.
Was that an okay description by me, Nedum?
Yeah, it's not far off. It's just, as I was listening to Arteta speak, firstly, when it happened in real time, Arteta had his back to the moment, so he didn't necessarily see what happened. And I think, unless I was mistaken, in that interview, he was saying that it just hit his heel and it went off to the side. We didn't. I think everyone here that's played, or anyone that's played football anywhere, you know when you're just being a little bit cheeky with something. Because Declan Rice could have just walked away without touching the ball at all, but his reactions probably come because he saw someone sprinting trying to kick the ball. So it's just an instinctive thing that he's done, and it's a mistake that he's made. But I think, unless I'm mistaken, you seem like Arteta was trying to tell us that it just happened by accident, but it definitely happened on purpose, in my opinion.
Stevie, he's calling for consistency. Is there a point there from him?
See, I think we're going about this the wrong way. We've got to start with him kicking the ball away. You know, at the end of the day, Declan Rice knows that that's a yellow card. And at the end of the day, Declan Rice has to look in the mirror and understand that his decision to do it is the reason why he got sent off. It's very easy for Arteta to start saying, it's the referee's fault. It's not the referee's fault. We can argue all day whether the referee's discretion to let the first one go and give the second one is the wrong thing. But the real point is, what Declan Rice did is a yellow card, and he has to face the consequences for his decision. He's the one that kicked the ball. His red card has nothing to do with anything else that happened previously, quite frankly. So you've got to take responsibility. That's the crux of the matter. Now, yes, we know that referees have got discretion in certain areas. Certain things are black and white, but there are certain things that they have discretion. And he chose not to give the right discretion both sides, which is, again, not the right thing to do. But again, the bottom line is, if Declan Rice doesn't kick the ball away, then he doesn't get sent off. So at the end of the day, he's the one responsible for getting him sent off, not the referee.
I have to say, I disagree.
Whose fault is it for kicking the ball away?
I don't see this as a red card. I don't see this as a yellow card. I don't see this as any kind of incident that warranted any more than a firm talking to by the referee. I understand from a playing perspective, you know Declan Rice is on a card. I think what you're doing there is you're trying to egg him on, almost to give just to say to the referee that if something else happens and it involves Declan Rice, well, look at that. You're not thinking he's going to pick up a yellow card for that, and just to say, well, he's kicked the ball away and by the letter of the law, I don't think that does the game any justice. That you referee solely by, well, this is the law, I'm applying it firmly every single time. Common sense has to come into play. Common sense has to prevail here. And for me, if the referee did nothing but speak to both players or speak to both sets of players, I don't think anybody, including everybody who's playing for Brighton, including everybody who's supporting Brighton, has an issue with it. I just thought that this was just cheap, silly, and could have so easily been dealt with differently.
Can I just say, I don't disagree with what you're saying. My point is that without Declan Rice kicking the ball away,
I get it. Declan Rice.
The
okay,
thing is,
but
that's the way
let me
they've been
ask this.
told.
Let me ask
They've
this.
been told to make.
Let me ask
the
this.
players know that the referee's going to do that when that
Let
situation arises.
me ask this, and to Arteta's gaslighting. Arteta's gaslighting. If Declan Rice doesn't flick the ball away slightly as he does, and just continues or just stands as the ball hits the heel, and the Brighton player, I can't remember who it is, comes and kicks into him as he does anybody see that as a red card? No, I don't. I don't think the referee should send him off. But to Arteta's...
But facing the wrong way.
Yes. My point is, the Brighton player comes and kicks Declan Rice across... Well, catches him just below the knee, right? Albeit with his shin, part of his leg. By the letter of the law, you kick somebody below the knee, that's a red card. But if the referee does nothing about it, as he did, nobody has a problem with it. I just don't see it as being anything at all egregious, anything at all, even warranting a yellow card.
Nadem?
Yeah, I'm more on Stevie's side with this, to be honest, because the way that I perceive it is that in this moment, like in the game, Declan Rice is on a yellow card. I think it's fair to say that from when you are on a yellow card, even though you can try and play exactly the way that you did before, you have to make slight adjustments. And I think one of those adjustments would be to get away from that position, because Veltman's ended up kicking him, because Veltman was trying to kick the ball at him to get him yellow carded anyway. So that's the gamesmanship by Veltman from that standpoint. And I think for Rice to even be in that position, I just think he switched off. And I understand the arguments about inconsistency and so on, but I think it was last year where the rule was like hardened, like if you kick the ball away, you will get booked. That's why Arsenal was so outraged by the João Pedro one in the first half. I think years ago, you'd be like, oh, come on, ref, you need to book him. But again, the incident doesn't need to happen. Declan Rice is a good enough and smart enough player to not be in that situation full stop. And again, it's because he's on a yellow card. And I think because it led to a red, that's the big conversation. But I think by itself, it'd be a yellow, just I think pretty much every day of the week, because he's allowing himself to be judged by the referee in a way which he did not need to at all. And I think from my side, again, when the argument from the Arsenal perspective is about consistency, I think it's sort of deflecting away from the fact that the decision-making in that moment from somebody very experienced was incorrect.
Ale?
And a couple of things about what Arteta said. First of all, there are angles that show that Arteta gets upset with the initial foul that is called on Declan Rice. He turns his back, right? And unless he has eyes in the back of his head, he's actually not seeing what developed afterwards. So he didn't actually see the play, must have been shown in replays, but he didn't actually see the play. So what he's trying to portray that actually happened did not happen. The other thing that I would say is, if indeed you get to a point in your Arsenal, you're in control of the match, you've given up control of the game, and still you felt, at least from my perspective, that Arsenal would go on to win the game because of the chances that they did create. And so while they can get hung up on this card or that card or what could have been or what might have been, there was still an opportunity for them to win the game. And besides that, Arteta goes on to say and to assume that the game would end up 10-10. Why? How? Where is that assumption coming from? And what kind of message are you sending? This, as I understand it now, this is gaslighting. This is indeed telling me something that was not actually what was happening out on the field, because you're assuming that Joao Pedro is going to get another card somewhere else, and he did.
Right at
yes,
the end.
At the end of the match. But don't tell me that the game should have been 10-10, and so then the reality of the game changed because of that card. And that's, I think, bending the truth, which managers tend to do from time to time to explain results. But this is bending the truth much more so than actually explaining what happened on the field.
Well, one thing that is for sure is after that red card, things changed dramatically. When you take a look at the stats, we've got the splits of before and after the game when it comes to, obviously, possession, shots on goals and expected goals. But even with this, Stevie, you still feel as though, even with the 10 men, Arsenal should have come away with a win at full time.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, they had two good chances. We saw the Havertz one where he was clean through. And actually, Shaka had a tough chance where he was stretching from across from Havertz that might have won the game as well. And actually, defensively, Arsenal were really, really good, except for that one horrendous moment when Gabriel and Saliba, who for the past 2 years have been absolutely outstanding, were all over the shop. I mean, there must have been 18, 20 yards between the two of them, and one pass from the back line went straight up in the middle of the park, all the way through, and they end up losing the goal. So, again, if you want to turn the thing on the referee, you can, but if you actually want to look at the game, you could have and probably should have still won the game.
Do you agree with that, Nadim?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I thought Havertz was a handful throughout the game, and he's obviously started the season very well as well. And I think that one-on-one that he created for himself, I fancied him to score that. And then the Saka opportunity as well. I think they did still carry a threat. I think Brighton's defensive line, it's not the quickest, and I think Arsenal at times were exploiting that. Yes, obviously Brighton had all the possession, they had a lot of the territory, but even when Arsenal brought on Martinelli, I still believed that they'd be able to hit them on the break as such. So I think as Arsenal walk off the field, there'll probably be disappointment about the red card, about the fact that, they were in control of the game. But I agree with the guys that in this moment, they still had good opportunities to go out there and to sort of see the game off, but unfortunately it just wasn't meant to be.
All right, so that's how things are standing with Arsenal dropping points in this game.